4 is in the books, and 7 teams are still in the hunt for the Stage 1 playoffs. London calling.
London Spitfire just running over Seoul.
Will break down Spitfire's 4-0 dominance against the mighty Dynasty.
It will be the clean sweep.
How was Seoul able to rebound against the red-hot Houston Outlaws?
Houston certainly making those guys sweat.
Boston is back on the rise after shutting down the LA Valiant.
This is a true statement game.
But will the streak continue? Plus, inside access to the Shanghai Dragons and how they prepare for the rigors of game day. And the craze that's sweeping the Overwatch world. It's Verboing. We'll showcase the best of the best. This is Watchpoint.
Welcome to MLG's Watchpoint. Mr. X here with Chris Puckett and Monte Cristo. Puckett stepping in for Uber today. He's a little bit under the weather, so we got Puckett to fill in. How you feeling, bud?
Yeah, not as bad as Uber, but the Super Bowl was fun to watch. I feel like everybody needs some rest. Yeah, it's going to be great, though.
We actually had a fun time at the Philadelphia Fusion House with the Boston Uprising, who were invited, so it made it even more fun, actually.
And we got to hang out with the Shanghai Dragons. Shout out to Philly for having us over. Today, though, we're going to recap all of the biggest stories from Week 4 of the Overwatch League, and we'll hear from the London Spitfire about how they shook up the entire stage playoff picture with that big win over Seoul Dynasty. Plus, we followed the Shanghai Dragons for a look at how they prep for some of the biggest matches. But first, let's begin with our headlines from Week 4.
The match of the week was definitely the London Spitfire against the Seoul Dynasty, and London was up to the task, rolling over Seoul 4-0. London followed that win with a complete shutout over Shanghai, not allowing the Dragons to take a single point, and the Spitfire are definitely red hot.
Speaking of red hot, the Dynasty's rough Week 4 schedule continued against the Houston Outlaws team that had won 5 straight. But the Dynasty outlasted Houston in a 5-map set that revealed the strengths and weaknesses of each team. Seoul does reclaim a top 3 spot in the standings with the win.
Another pretty big shakeup happened when the Boston Uprising took out the Los Angeles Valiant 4-0 behind the stellar play of Dream Casper and Striker, the DPS duo. The Uprising moved 1 map ahead of Los Angeles and placed themselves back into the stage playoff picture.
So London sits atop the league as we enter the final week of Stage 1. The top 3 teams make the stage playoffs, and the first tiebreaker is map differential. So basically, your maps won minus the maps lost. The Spitfire are currently joined by the Excelsior and Dynasty as your top 3, with the Outlaws, Uprising, and Valiant on the outside looking in. So in total, it's 7 teams that are mathematically still in the running for playoff spots. Pretty great stuff, and we got to jump back into that London versus Seoul matchup, and let's start with the decision by Seoul to sit Jaehong in favor of Guido. Now, Monty, what did you think of this? Good move, bad move?
I can already tell.
Really, it didn't pay off.
I love Jaehong, right? I've cast him in Apex. I've seen him win championships over in Korea. I'm thrilled to have him in the Overwatch League. Now, Guido's a player that has played DPS in the past and is now seemingly making the transition to support. But I think that this was a huge, huge error. I think the Seoul really did take the London Spitfire for granted. This was a player in Guido that didn't look like he had a lot of great synergy with either his tanks or his support partner, Toby.
I think it could be a little bit of you kind of get in your own head, right? I mean, this Seoul Dynasty team, formerly Lunatic High against the GC Busan Corps, hasn't had great success in the past. Maybe they thought they needed some kind of change. Would Jaehong have been the change it would have went for? No, that would have been the last change, I would admit, probably.
I mean, they did say that they thought Guido had a better style playing against the London Spitfire, but the London Spitfire themselves played a very different style this week than we had seen previously.
Outcoached?
Outcoached, maybe. I mean, the thing about London is they can be so diverse because they have a 12-man roster, right? You're looking at a team that can basically play every look. But even as we came into this week, previously we'd seen a lot of aggression from the London Spitfire, a lot of Reaper with the tanks or running Genji and Tracer Dive. This week, they switched over to playing anti-dive and Junkrat. So I think that also really caught Dynasty off.
And we also hadn't seen Huyao all season. We hadn't seen Corzer all season also. So, it's just a different roster that they threw out there. And I really think it was the Junkrat play, right? We kind of got on London throughout the season thus far. They were reluctant to play Junkrat. It's like in a meta where he's so important, one of the most important heroes that you can throw into your team comps. they were just refusing to run him, and I think you saw the difference that it made having Junkrat on the team.
London was looking just amazing in that series overall. So after that loss, Seoul had to go on and turn their next match around against the Houston lineup. Mr. X, how did the Outlaws take this series to a Game 5 when they were missing some of their big players?
Yeah, I mean, it really stunk for the Outlaws this week to not have Linkster in the lineup, right? I think they would love to have Linkster in this match.
I was so mad. Okay, I was ready to predict that the Outlaws were going to beat Seoul if Linkster was in. And I get in that day and I see the starting roster. Well, I see that Linkster's not playing. My heart was just sinking.
Not having him just takes away a lot of the different things they can do comp-wise, right? Like, we didn't see them play Genji at all. Because usually, like, Jake would play Genji, and then you'd have Linkster play Tracer. It didn't seem like they played Clockwork on Tracer a lot. I actually thought Jake played a very good series for Houston, kind of kept him in it.
Yep.
I thought his Tracer play was really strong throughout this series. And obviously, we know what he can do on Junkrat. You know, it's just, like, become a meme at this point. But I thought his Tracer, I mean, a lot of times, you know, even in the Game 5, he was getting a lot of early picks on Tracer.
It's very cool to hear from Jae-Hong as well after the matchup, really giving Jake props for what he did in that match and saying, don't get down on yourself, stick with it. You guys are a really strong team.
I think you also have to give the Outlaws immense credit for taking this to 5 maps, even without a breakout star player like Linkster in that starting roster. It was, I have to say, a bit of a perfect storm for them. It was the best map set they could have asked for up against Seoul. Seoul had been coming off a hard loss on London. They had to play on completely different maps the next day against the Houston Outlaws. When we saw how Seoul lost to London Spitfire, London was playing a lot of the Widowmaker and Junkrat style that is very similar to what we saw from the Outlaws. So I think that this was probably the Outlaws' best chance for beating Seoul for a while.
And I think the biggest thing you missed from Linkster is just the Widow play. Just that counter Widow play. I think it really was shown on Horizon Lunar Colony when Seoul was on defense and Fleto was just sitting all the way in the back on Widow. They had no way to contest him. They were trying so many different things. We saw them pull out like Soldier. We saw them pull out McCree. But I mean, Fleto was just so strong all series.
I think Clockwork will be the first one to tell you he's not super comfortable on Widowmaker quite yet. More focused on some of the other heroes. Let's talk about the Dynasty, though, and who carried them to the victory over Houston. It's got to be this guy.
Well, look at what's on your screen right now. Fleta, especially on the more convincing wins that they had, particularly on the first control map on Ilios, he was absolutely dumpstering Clockwork in the Pharah versus Pharah matchup. Well, I think Clockwork did well on the rest of the maps. That one was extremely one-sided. And then if we look at how they pushed themselves over the finish line at the end, of course, it was Zunba with his trademark Zarya, comes out on Lijiang Tower on Control Center and just puts the icing on the cake.
And it was the first fight on Lijiang that kind of won it for Seoul. If you go back and watch the footage, you know, Zunba is so weak, they almost actually take him out.
Yeah.
And if they would have gotten that kill, he's so charged up at that time. I mean, once he's so charged Zunba and they get him back to full HP, he's just building towards those grabs. He's just putting down so much damage.
And it was a big victory for Seoul. Remember, they were coming off back-to-back losses. The Game 5 victory gives them a much-needed victory. But we also have to talk about Boston here in Week 4. They jumped into 5th place with a 4-0 win over the Valiant on Saturday. And as they told us, they are tired of people doubting them.
Listen, this Boston team are the real deal. All this stuff pre-season about them coming last, we all did it. I did it. I put it in my power rankings. We were wrong. People need to wake up now and realize that these guys are out here and they're hungry.
Everyone thinks of us as the underdog. People think of us as nobodies. It's like, oh, these guys came from nowhere. They came from like low-tier teams. And so just to show how we can prove ourselves and we can mesh as a team and show that we're the best.
And oh, Casper! It's just adding insult to injury now.
We're looking really confident right now. We feel very confident right now, and I think if we just continue to improve off that and feed off of that, we could do really well.
It's going to be the Boston Uprising. They hold up in the heat.
Get a 4-0 here against the Los Angeles Valiant.
Well, halftime, we like all got together and like hugging, like did the talking thing and shush. After we won, we did a countdown to get up and do it. So half of us did it, half of us didn't. So it just looked kind of weird.
I did it.
I did it. Gamsu did it. The rest, I don't know. They disappeared.
Disappointed.
That Uprising win over the Valiant was damn impressive, Monty. But what do you think made the biggest difference?
Hold on, by the way. Okay.
I thought we were going to let it slip.
No, we can't do this. So, President of Gaming, Huck, you saw him in the back right there. That gesture, the talking, and then is something he did back in the GSL when he was a StarCraft 2 player playing in Korea. Very famous little clip of him that you can find online. So now I love that he's put together this team. They're starting to win their games. They're definitely on the up and up. And Huck is there, who has always been one of the strongest personalities we have in esports, to show them how to do like a little bit of trash talking and styling on their opponents. I love it. I really like it.
That's like, that was my thing. When I was a player, it was like 80% trash talk, 20% play.
I remember as a tournament director handing you technical fouls. All right, so let's talk about why Boston was able to pull off this victory, though. What do you think was the biggest difference maker for this squad?
I really think it was Dream Casper. Like, Dream Casper, we've talked about him. He's been playing all these different heroes. In week 1, he played something like 9 different heroes, so he's shown a lot of versatility. But we needed him to be a playmaker, and that's what it takes to be at the top of the Overwatch League, is this kind of ridiculous highlights that we're seeing right now. He had a banner day on Pharah and Genji, and he was just running rampant over the Valiant.
And this team has the pieces to allow him to kind of go off in these matches, right? You know, Gamsu is a great main tank, and I think Striker in the Tracer battles, he's never going to like get out-dueled in such a large way. He plays Soon pretty close all throughout that game, but I feel like Gamsu is really a tank, main tank player that's kind of underrated. I feel like, we talk about so many, like, we talk about Gesture, we talk about Fisher all the time. I feel like he's definitely one of the better in the league.
We've already given him Player of the Match awards multiple times. Gamsu's come up clutch.
Yeah, he has, and that's the story of his career as an Overwatch pro, has been, I think, him being underrated. He was on a not-so-great team on Conbox when he was playing in Korea, and this is really his breakout opportunity. We're seeing what a great main tank he can be.
Yeah, you're seeing what a force that Gamsu can be on a playoff contending team on the Boston Uprising, helping them, potentially get one of those top 3 spots in stage 1. But sometimes when we're casting matches, we involuntarily raise our voices because something amazing just happened. And as you'll see in these clips, a lot of the time, not only was it amazing, but we didn't see that coming.
Our first clip comes from the Frenchman. It's a sneaky Soon. How many times have we seen this man back the point? Look at how many players he draws back from the fusion.
This was such a clutch play when I was casting this too, because it basically allowed them to win Gardens, and that propelled them through the rest of Oasis. So incredibly clutch play. We're also going to take a look at Jake here with a 2K Rip Tire, but Wakid immediately with the counter tire takes out 3 Outlaws.
Wakid, he's like, I got you. You see the Transcendence comes in from Rockets. That will not save you against the Rip Tire that comes on through. We got Nevix, didn't see that Clockwork Pulse Bomb coming during his ult. He launches his D.Va mech up into the sky, and then it's the baby D.Va just goes even higher than the mech. It's an unfortunate event for Nevix. A nice pulse bomb from Clockwork.
And that's even without a trampoline. Very impressive stuff there from the baby D.Va. Sorry, Nevix. But we got to, of course, highlight some of our sniper play this week. Baby Bay with the 3K. Teammates needing help. Baby Bay over their shoulder, hitting every shot.
Well, that's what you have to do. And unfortunately, the Florida Mayhem are on the receiving end of a lot of these plays as they're continuing to struggle at the bottom of the standings, and we're going to see that again right here. Hydration's Pharah is going to drop into the choke point, the doorway on Eichenwald, and that's going to help the Gladiators finish this point.
I remember talking about this. I was like, oh man, they're going to come off the spawn. They're going to get close to support ults. Maybe they can stall it out a little bit, get that Valkyrie, and Hydration just drops right down in, finds both supports there. It's going to be Meko and Mono. It's a team up to pull Harry Hook over the wall. That halt and hook combination.
Hold Bork! You got to hook the hook.
Harry Hook just comes in. He's just like, oh, I'm dead. like there's no even defense. He's just motionless there as Mickey tries to get him the defense matrix, not enough.
Gotta love that tag combo. We're gonna close this one out though with Dream Casper. Previously, we thought press Q to die. That's what the barrage was, but Hydration making it work in week 4. Dream Casper with a massive play on the Pharah, shutting down Agility's barrage of his own.
I mean, that's just a ridiculous play, right? He drops down from above and counters the barrage with his own. And that was great overall from Dream Casper this past week.
He was a rock star all week long. Now, the Los Angeles Valiant's Verbo finally made his season debut during this past week, but waiting to get into a game wasn't the hardest part of his bumpy road to the Overwatch League.
So my handle is Verbo, and I play for Los Angeles Valiant. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I started getting into competitive Overwatch when the game first came out. Came across, a live stream of competitive gaming, and I said, that's something I want to try. I swapped over to Overwatch from the previous game that I was playing, and immediately fell in love with the game. I started playing in small amateur tournaments, and eventually got recognized. My parents, I just told them, I said, hey, I'm not going to college or university, I'm like pursuing this. And they basically told me, no, you are not doing that. Like, I want you to quit right now. My path to pro was very, very, very difficult. Getting into being a professional, it's competition. And if you're not putting in your extra hours, someone else is there to take your spot every single time. I was only getting like probably just over 5 hours of sleep, and it was very taxing. I was basically doing anything in my power to become a professional gamer. My mom would actually legitimately put roadblocks in front of me to try to stop me from doing this, because she saw it as basically screwing up my life. She would take the modem and the internet modem with her to work, so when I would get home from school, I literally could not play until she got home, and she got home around maybe 6 or 7. And I understand where she was coming from. It's a very hard idea to get your head around. I applaud my mom for putting those roadblocks in front of me, because it made me want it even more. It made me work very hard. Even when I didn't have internet, I would actually go to the McDonald's, and I would just look at my phone and look at footage of other professional teams or other professional games and try to study it that way, and write notes, and then I would apply that in the game. I found any way to make myself a better player. And it's funny, literally 2 weeks after I got a contract to be a pro gamer for another team, and they finally saw it as being legit and being serious and with a salary, and I was able to sustain myself, and they were more supportive.
Verbo does have that Valkyrie though, and he manages to get both his DPS back up again.
There's proof and there's evidence that this is going somewhere, so it's awesome.
Kareem does fall though. Verbo brings him back one more time. Verboing, look, he's Verboing.
I'm just looking for our team to build a brotherhood, for us to basically work together like a family. We're teammates on paper, but in reality, we're like brothers.
Solid job by Verbo, his first time in a regular season match. He gets all 4 victories.
It's still something that not everybody understands, but I think when people saw I'm going to California, they knew that it was something good. And, I represent my name Verbo proudly, and I'm happy to be here.
Verbo saw his first action of the season for the Valiant last Wednesday, and after the win over the Fusion, he tweeted, "Part of my job not being a starter is to show up and play as expected and needed, and with 2 days of being integrated into scrims, I did the best I could. GG's to Philadelphia Fusion, looking forward to more of those Verboing." Hashtag Verbo, of course.
The Verboing he's mentioning is something we started on this show last week, inspired by Verbo's tattoo. He's been a great sport about it, and turns out a lot of other people have been good sports as well. And here we go. We're going to start things off. And this is the Valiant after the Mercy nerfs, looking forward to some tank play and some of the new supports that are going to be coming in, most particularly Lucio and Moira.
Yeah, Roadhog praying to the Slambulance gods there.
That's right.
Lucio and Moira.
I like how the Valiant itself got him Verboing. That's pretty funny. Here's me, actually. Somebody photoshopped me Verboing with 2-0 for Boston Uprising this last week. They had a very good match this week. That was before they won, and at least the Boston were 2-0 because the other Boston team was 0-1 in Super Bowls. So.
Kraft can be proud of somebody, right?
That's right. At least he got one undefeated team this week, right? And right here, we have Daniel Walters from Twitter with the statue in the background, saying, you can eat your heart out, Reinhardt, with the original Man of Steel in the back.
That's awesome. Go out there, get that one done. And we got another one that comes in from Victor. You can finally play Reinhardt again. Not exactly too sure about that. We'll see what happens with
I like
Reinhardt.
Anna, please come back.
No. The real gem of this is the one-button mouse for left click with the W. Just walk forward and keep on spamming that hammer swinging. That's
now,
pretty creative.
to properly Verbo, do I have to, or Verboing, do I have to reach all the way up, or can I just do like this?
He actually did that. Verbo, when he was introduced, did the mini Verbo when he was on camera earlier this week for the Valiant, so I appreciated that. He's really embraced it. I think
it's all about efficiency, Verbo. Thank you so much. All right, it's time for Attack Attack and Defend, where Mr. X and Monty compete for my approval by attacking or defending a point.
You took my job.
Yeah.
Well, it's also very brave of Monty to step in here against me because I am undefeated so far in Attack and Defend.
The back-to-back attack.
So brave.
I'm undefeated. I'm always going to be undefeated.
Don't watch the first 2 weeks, and Matt is definitely undefeated. First up today, early in the season, we saw some amazing diva play from the Fusion's Poco. But in their last 3 matches, he has been replaced by Hoppa. Looking at the numbers here, guys, it seems that Poco has the edge in almost every category. So the point here is, the Fusion should be playing Poco over Hoppa. Monty, attack or defend this one?
I'm going to defend this. They should be playing Poco over Hotba. Not only has he the better statistics, he is literally the more explosive player. We saw how many of those kills he was getting with the self-destruct. And not only that, let's think about Hotba's stats right there. Hotba had a chance to pad them against the Shanghai Dragons and is still coming out lower than Poco.
I'm going to attack this. Hotba should be playing for the Philly Fusion. He plays a little bit more of a defensive style. They're really just trying to enable Fraggy, keep him alive.
That hasn't changed at all.
Trying to put him in there. And I think, look, Poco's stats are great, but he's just playing so offensive, letting Fraggy die all the time. You may as well try and change some things up if you're Philly.
Fraggy's letting Fraggy die, let's be clear.
Change things up when you're winning. I don't know how I could agree with that one. Monty so far in the lead. Okay, next up, the Houston Outlaws. Verbo are sitting in 4th place, just behind the Seoul Dynasty for the 3rd stage playoff spot. They had won 5 straight matches before losing a close game 5 to the Dynasties. So the point here is Houston is the best team not currently in the stage playoffs. Mr. X, attack or defend?
Houston is the best team not in the stage playoffs. I think at least on this patch, we'll use that with an asterisk. I think they have a fantastic Junkrat player in Jake. Linkster as a DPS player has been one of the best throughout the league thus far. You have 2 great tanks. I think clearly they are the team that on the outside looking in is the absolute best. You saw what they did to Seoul Dynasty, taking them to 5 games, and that's without Linkster.
Hey, you know who actually beat a top 3 team? It was the Boston Uprising. So they took an upset win over the London Spitfire. Sure, Houston's been good, but they've mostly been taking out teams on the bottom side of the standings. So I'm taking the upset team. Plus, Boston showed a lot of strength with the dive composition, but I think they're more versatile. Now we saw them last week, the 4-0 over the Valiant. Dream Casper on the far
the Valiant
right now.
On the decline.
Right now, I think it's Uprising.
I don't know. I think you look at the meta right now, it definitely favors Houston with the Junkrat play.
I gotta go Matt here. Junkrat for the win. It's still the first patch. Okay, last one on the day. The Florida Mayhem's Tvik has been doing more than playing well. As we see in this video from his Twitter, he's also driving the team bus to and from the arena. Tvik driving the team bus, Monty. Attack or defend? Should Swedes be behind the wheel?
I think that's fine, that Swedish people are behind the wheel. I'm going to attack it all the same, though, because Tvik, he may be carrying his team in the bus, but he's not carrying them necessarily in the games these days. However, he should not be required to carry them in the bus. Where are their drivers? Where is the Florida Mayhem? Where's their support staff? Where's their infrastructure right now coming in to support this team?
Trying to make these kids divas.
I drive to work, you drive to work, Puckett drives to work. Come on, man. Like, these guys can drive themselves to work.
We're not owned by the Miami Heat.
It's fine.
We're not. Look, if I was owned by the Miami Heat, I'd have a chauffeur. That's all I'm saying.
They got to learn how to drive if they're living here. You don't want to be at the mercy of Ubers everywhere. Those don't work all the time. They got to learn how to drive. I'm with Tvik.
We all drive to work. Matt wins again.
What the hell?
I will get you guys a bigger paycheck. We'll work on that. As we discussed, the Spitfire dismantled the Seoul Dynasty on Thursday night, and needless to say, they were excited afterwards. But as Prophet and Birdring told us, they felt this was a must-win for London.
London Spitfire, Seoul Dynasty, the battle between 2 of our top 3 teams.
It's a battle of behemoths.
The Spitfire with a 5-1 record.
Do they have the confidence? Do they know that they can beat Seoul?
서울과의 경기는 좀 중요했다고 생각했어요. 그냥 반대로 저희가 졌으면은 저희가 오히려 5등이 되는 상황이 됐을 수도 있어서.
The Seoul Dynasty looking for revenge after dropping a 5-game series to the New York XL.
경기하기 전에 로스터로 이제 류지영 선수가 안 나온 걸 봤는데 조금 예상을 하고 있었어요. 기도 선수가 스크림 뛰는 걸 최근에 봐가지고 그래도 많이 긴장을 안 됐던 것 같아요. 류지영 선수만큼.
Birdring looking for an angle, gonna go high, way out in the open, and somehow finds a shot on Fleta. London Spitfire will hold.
Send a little bit of a message to the Dynasty.
Seoul perhaps having flashbacks to the New York XL match. 2-0, are you kidding me?
The tanks of London just constantly shutting them down.
London Spitfire, another 2-0, up 3-0 in the set.
Seoul are definitely going to be wondering what the hell is happening to him.
일단 버더링은 블레타 선수보다 더 잘한 것 같아요. 원래는 좀 못했는데 대회 때 좀 잘한 것 같아요. 우리 프로페이스는 스크림 때보다 그냥 조금 잘한 것 같아요, 조금. 서울을 이길 줄 알았는데 4대0으로 이길 줄 몰랐는데 4대0으로 이겨서 좀 많이 기뻤던 것 같아요.
Seoul was off their game today, but London was on it. We thought that we would see Seoul as a shoo-in for the playoffs. Today's loss makes it very interesting.
Every week in Overwatch League, countless players battle through blood, sweat, and tears for the right to collect one of my awards of excellence. Unfortunately, I only have time to select one from each division. Let's start with the Atlantic Division, where the award of excellence goes to Dream Casper this week. Now, I thought about it, maybe one of the guys on the London Spitfire, but I had already given it to Birdring, and I thought, Boston had a tremendous week. It was really just all behind the play of Dream Casper, especially against the Valiant. He let in hero damage per 10 minutes with 9,568 final blows for 10 minutes in that series as well, with 12, and then a limbs per 10 minutes with 20.33. Dream Casper plays so many different heroes, helps Boston get 2 big wins this week. And then let's move on to the Pacific Division, where I went with nobody. I actually picked nobody from the Pacific Division this week. They actually didn't have many standout performances. A lot of teams either went 0-2 or 1-1, so I opted to just go with Dream Casper from the Atlantic Division. And sorry to everyone who didn't win, but if you want to be excellent, you're going to have to just level up, play even better next week. Now let's go to the darkest, scariest place I can think of, inside the mind of Monte Cristo. This is the Full Monty.
For most teams, the Overwatch League is merely a professional competition. But for one team, it may be far more serious. In the opening weeks of OWL, I've had my suspicions growing that for the Shanghai Dragons, the league might actually be a punishment from the ancient Greek underworld. Trapped in Hades, like Tantalus or Sisyphus, the Shanghai Dragons seem condemned to an eternal torture where victory is perpetually just a little bit out of reach. Shanghai, come on. The signing window has now opened. You can end your torture. Please purchase some miraculous youngsters and start that sprint past Cerberus into the light. You have 1 billion people in China to pick from for your team, as well as players from other Chinese-speaking regions. Where are your signings? The time is now to make these changes and get yourself rolling. I'm looking forward to the announcements. They cannot possibly come soon enough for you, the Dragons. In an unannounced piece of news, Seoul Dynasty actually lost their team captain, Ryu Jae-hong, on their way to the arena prior to their match against the London Spitfire, resulting in his absence for the entirety of the Dynasty's match. No, I'm just messing with you. They didn't lose Jae-hong, of course. They didn't lose their captain. The only thing the Dynasty lost was their minds for not starting him. This is a player many of us have considered the best in the world at times, a player with exceptional synergy with his partner Toby, a player crucial to the Dynasty's in-game communication and leadership. Dynasty, you have to let the man play. You have enough problems right now with your second DPS slot without inventing some new ones for yourselves. That's been the Full Monty for today, guys. We're all excited to see how Seoul decides to sabotage their stage playoff chances next week by turning Bunny into a tank.
How strong is this Houston lineup coming in?
They have all the pieces they need that could be up at the top of the Overwatch League.
We just don't let people execute the game plan that they want to execute. We get in their face and we disrupt.
They started out 0-2, but this is a fan favorite.
I don't know, Jake! Huge tire from him. Houston, we have a victory over Dallas.
The most shocking result we have seen so far.
We didn't treat any team with disrespect, trying to put our subs in. We were like, no, we're going 100% every single game. And that's how you get a win streak.
Houston Outlaws are in a league above.
Jake just pressuring forward. That's it. Just a dominant victory here from the Houston Outlaws.
Shanghai, Mayhem, Dallas Fuel, Gladiators, and Shock.
4 4-0s in a row for the Houston Outlaws. That's an incredible record.
We trust each other. If a call is made, we follow it. That fearless team spirit means that on game day, we're twice as strong.
This is just supreme confidence in Jake's abilities. He's gonna go for it.
There was one fight we were down 3 on Anubis, and Rockets was asking should I trance, should I trance?
This rip tire could make a big difference.
And I was like, yeah, we can do this. I got the Genji fight.
Gets Baby Bay, who's reinforcing, and the Houston Outlaws survive.
The biggest thing about playing Seoul down a man and, putting them to a gain 5, I think they emptied their strat book on us. They showed us everything.
Seoul Dynasty will win it, but man, Houston brought it down to the wire.
And we showed them nothing. Like, they know nothing about what we're going to run.
Every step of the way, Houston certainly making those guys sweat.
I think next time, with more preparation, I think it's not going to be close.
I guarantee we're going to win next time.
Right now, Houston, they're feeling great.
And we may see them in the Stage 1 playoffs.
We're never going to give up until we actually win, and we're going to try to win every season. That's literally the only goal.
Houston's squad just seems to be getting hotter and hotter as this tournament goes on.
Teamwork is how you win an Overwatch, and that's the kind of heat we're trying to bring every single game, every single series.
One big reason for the Outlaws' success as of late has been the elite Winston play of Muma. As you look at some of the numbers here from Week 4, top 10 in almost every category, and you can see the most important one at the top, second with the average time to all earn, just showing you how much damage he is doing in game.
And that's just Week 4. If we go back to some of their undefeated streaks, his stats look even better.
Yeah.
So this guy has been an
He's been
absolute
crushing
monster.
fools, yeah.
Gotta love watching Muma, but guys, it's normally Uber segment time. I'm stealing it today. I got the remote and I'm taking over. It's time to check out the most emote-worthy moments from the week. This is Emote Control. We're starting things off here with Fleta, the Widow, versus the Mercy right off the break. Fantastic shot on Ilios. What do you got, Monty?
That is just a hilarious play. You almost never see that one, especially right off the spawn. I can't even see the Mercy in that shot. They didn't end up taking the point off that, but it was still super impressive and hilarious.
It's just an insane shot. I remember watching it, and I was like, how did he kill him that quick? I was like, where the hell was he? Because I don't think we caught it in the observing, but you see it here. It's just an insane shot from Fleta. I know his Widowmaker all series long was giving Houston a ton of problems.
I would have been crying after that shot. All right, let's move it on to our second emote-worthy clip. This time, it's the Outlaws coach Tyrone getting 28 Happy Meals for his birthday from the Florida Mayhem. Fellas, what's the emote?
I think you got to go with the Kappa here. It is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Of course, Florida Mayhem playing into their colors, looking very similar to McDonald's and buying Tyrone so many Happy Meals. I hope he distributed them to all of the players that were there in the practice facilities.
Keeping the toys, of course.
I love this from the Mayhem. Tyrone is one of the guys in the Overwatch League. It's impossible not to like the guy. On his birthday, they hook him up with a bunch of Happy Meals. I don't know what you do with all those Happy Meals. You definitely don't eat them. That would kind of be an awful experience. But I just think, Florida just cements themselves as one of the funnier, more personable teams in the league. Good to see they did something for Tyrone's birthday.
Yeah, they have a great.
They got the best walkouts in the league, that's for sure. Working on the wins, though. Let's keep it rolling here with our next clip. We've got Swoosh Jerky sign in the crowd.
It's a great treat. I think the sign is hilarious. I appreciate that Swoosh is slowly being known for his love of the teriyaki beef jerky, as he would say it.
I think it's just the way he says it is just incredible.
It is amazing.
I could listen to Swoosh talk all day long. One of the funnier guys we have in the league. But I love the signs that the fans show up with. We got this one. We see a lot of Jeff Kaplan heads popping up behind the people on the desk. I love the way
Why don't
the
we
fans
have a Jeff
been
Kaplan
here.
head?
Yeah, we should have a Jeff Kaplan head. We need a Jeff Kaplan head for Emote Control.
It's Jeff from the Overwatch team. We're working on that for you guys. All right, let's keep this moving from Florida's main tank to Boston's. We have the Boston Uprising's Gamsu accidentally pre-firing there with this Primal Rage.
I'm going to go with how his teammates probably felt after this. Sometimes you can't fat finger that button. I like to think that it was just Boston and Gamsu asserting their dominance with a feral scream before their defense started.
Yeah, I think for me, this is Boston. They just wanted the Valiant to actually put up a fight. They were letting them know where they were so they could get a good team fight in, because this series, they're not that close. Gamsu's sitting up top here, just popping the Primal Rage. I thought this was hilarious. When we were casting this, I was like, that is definitely an error. You don't want to be using
I like the war cry coming in there from Gamsu. Nice confidence, buddy. Our next clip is the warm embrace. Pine and Taimu at the end of the Epic Series Dallas Fuel going up against the New York XL.
I mean, I think this is just heartwarming. I don't even have the right emote for this one. I really love to see this level of sportsmanship between these top players and respect, especially after a tough loss, I think, for the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, I do really love this. When you see this from the players, we see a lot of just kind of camaraderie between the Overwatch players in general as compared to some of the other esports. So I love this. The Fuel obviously going through a tough time. Pine giving Taimu some love.
We need a cute spray. That's exactly what we need for
we
this
do.
one. All right, let's move it forward here. I had a fantastic meeting with a fan who had literally shaved the Dallas Fuel logo into his belly hair. Fellas, what's the emotion that you got for me today?
I gotta be a little bit of disgust. I love your face. I think my favorite part of this is actually not the belly hair, but the facial expression you're making. I do like seeing that level of fandom, though, but kind of gross.
That was special.
So imagine this emote with puke coming out of it.
Okay.
That would be the emote that I would use. We don't have the effects to make that happen, but I respect the willingness to go the distance to shave the logo into your belly, but I mean, that's kind of gross.
I've still been working on my belly hair. In about 3 months, I'll be ready to do the same. Congrats to that guy. Please never do it again. That was emote control, but moving on, we have to update you guys on what's been going on, like moving into a different country. If you're a team like the Shanghai Dragons, it can be tough on anyone. And we had a chance to spend some time with the Dragons to see how they're adjusting to life in America and how they've prepared for their match against the Excelsior this week.
比赛日的时候，我们会就是在早上会晚起一些，多休，大家都有充足的睡眠。
这个篮筐即将被你征服，你在干嘛？我操！太低了。
吴伟达，龙队的希望靠你了，来！
这是3分球啊！哇！厉害厉害厉害厉害！这干嘛？到哪？哦！
我觉得就除了要用现金和要说英语以外，其实跟中国就没有什么区别。
当所有人都有动作的时候，我们不做动作，不是也挺特殊的吗？
你只是在为你的懒惰找借口，你不要想多。
还是不能走嘴。
为什么？
因为
抓到我拍子，我又没动。真是和谐的龙队，刘海掀起来了。
让他掀一下你的刘海，我们想看一下。
吃完饭后我会到训练室热一下手。
有时候，如果比赛时间较晚的话，我们会先来一场训练赛，让大家保持手感，然后就进行比赛。
Yes! Roshan leading the charge. This squad is coming in at 0-6, but every single match, every single week, we see improvement.
With the Shanghai Dragons, it seems like the longer they stay in the fight, or the longer they keep pushing themselves into these matches, they are improving drastically. Good reason to cheer, man, because this is some good brawling from the Shanghai Dragons. They'd like to be aggressive. Oh, Undead got to get picked up there. Shanghai, so close, but not quite enough here, and they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. Undead forces Pine to respect him a little bit there with a headshot. But he's got Arc as well. The man's on a running riot. Somebody stop him. But it just doesn't matter. Undead's cut down by Meko. Libro's there just slapping mines on people's faces and detonating them just for fun. And that's it. It's a 4-0 series in favor of the New York Excelsior.
在就是龙之队，虽然就是时间很长，但觉得过得很充实。每天就是因为你要为就是和这么多强队这样亮，而且就每天就过得非常有意义，很充实。
Week 4 is behind us, and we've had a little time to process everything that happened, enough to gain a little hindsight. All right, Monty, what did you learn last week?
I actually learned, I think, a lot about the Seoul Dynasty, as did we all. Most particularly that they do have some weaknesses. I don't think they're fantastic in this Mercy meta because Toby was dying a lot to start off some of these team fights, and their tank play, especially with Miro and his deaths as well, is looking a little bit weaker than expected. But I think now we actually have the data to look at their second DPS. The Seoul Dynasty came into the Overwatch League bringing in 4 new DPS players, and a lot of these players were from teams where they were the stars, but the team itself was weak. So we didn't really know what the ceiling was going to be. Now, we've already seen Fleta do much better than I think anybody could have anticipated, but honestly, their Tracer play leaves something to be desired, and Buddy and Munchkin haven't stepped up to be that big second threat for them, and I think we've got to see that happen if Seoul wants to contend for a title here in the Overwatch League.
For me, in hindsight, it's that the London Spitfire have the best roster top to bottom in the Overwatch League, and you saw why this week. they're finally able to get the inter-squad scrimmages going with those 2 separate rosters they have, and you see it really paying off. The DPS players they have on this team are some of the best in the league overall, with Birdring, Prophet, Rascal, Hureg, and then in their tank line, I mean, you have Gesture play all the matches. The only player who doesn't play for the London Spitfire this week is Fisher, and he's probably one of the best tanks in the league if you kind of put him out into the free agency, whatnot. So I think the London Spitfire really cemented this week that they have one of the best teams in the league, the best roster top to bottom.
In hindsight, the Boston Uprising are the real deal. They proved all of the haters wrong. Everyone that was saying back in the preseason, this is a weak roster, they're a bunch of nobodies. Well, Huck put together a ridiculously talented lineup. They're hungry, and they prove that they're developing probably faster than most of the other teams in the league. I think they have a fantastic tank core and really some star DPS, some real diamonds in the rough there with Striker as well as Dream Casper. And of course, note, one of the biggest up-and-coming players in my book. He shocked everybody, helping his team get to that 2-0 and dominating the Valiant. Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Watchpoint. Thank you for watching, and make sure to check out the preview edition on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific on MLG.com, OverwatchLeague.com, and the Overwatch League app. We'll see you around. Thanks for watching.